Hey guys, Jay Siemens here. We're back on the ice. Some of the most common questions I get asked is regarding my front-facing sonar, what batteries I'm using, what shuttle I'm using, what transducer. Well, today we're gonna answer those questions. All right, first off, we're gonna talk about the shuttle, then we're gonna talk about the pole, then we're gonna talk about the graph, and we'll talk about the battery and some of the other accessories. There's a lot of steps to this, and I know it can be kind of overwhelming, but first off is the shuttle. This is the HDI shuttle, HD Innovations, my buddy Jason Young. You've heard me talk about him for probably the last 3-4 years on YouTube. He has a Facebook group called LiveScope Addicts, and he has answered any LiveScope front-facing sonar question I've ever thrown at him. He is so thoughtful, so knowledgeable on the topic, and that's what makes him design such an amazing product. So I've helped with some of the marketing and the development of this, and this shuttle has been put through the paces. So we used it season 1 and season 2 of the Outpost. I've used this thing on kayaks, on my boat, on the ice, on flyouts. It's a 4-season unit. It's not just for ice fishing, which I think is important to know. I'm gonna go through just some of the functionality on the shuttle itself. First off, this is HDPE CNC plastic. So there's no 3D printed parts on this, which can be obviously a weak spot. But this HDPE plastic, couple things. It doesn't get as cold as metal, and it is wicked strong. It's not cold on your hands, it doesn't get the batteries cold. Probably one of the biggest features that you'll notice is on the front, there's 2 thumb screws, and this allows easy access for the battery, which is, I don't know why someone didn't think of it sooner, but let's say the batteries get wiggled loose, your battery dies. Let's say you're doing a camping trip and you need 2 batteries. Well, with 2 thumb screws, you don't need to bring any tools along. Boom, you can pop open the front. There's all your wiring, but you can easily get at the battery in case something goes wrong or in case you need to swap out. So that right there has been such a useful feature. On the side here, you've got your port for charging. Next over, you've got 2 USB ports, good for GoPro screen recorder, which I'll show you guys later. Then you've got the voltage in the middle. You've got your 2 switches. One powers on, powers off your system, so you don't have to worry about any sort of voltage drain. And then on the bottom, you've got this little LED for charging jigs or to just put some light on your hole when you're fighting fish in the dark. Other than that, I mean, this is the hole where you pass all your wires. You've got the top handle. You've got 2 little threaded receivers on the end here if you want to add some accessories. And then you've got the T-track on the top, which is kind of like what you see in your kayak rails, but you can slide in different accessories. You can slide in, you know, a camera, you can slide in a light, whatever you might want on the top there. But that is it in the most basic form. But the shuttle, it does come with these pole holders on top. This one is rigged up with a graph here. These HD Innovations pole holders, I will show you on the next shuttle, but that's what holds your pole, and it just makes it convenient for hopping spot to spot. And then on the back there, you can see how the black box mounts on here. Obviously, there's no transducer wrapped around here right now. That's your black box. If your unit does need a black box, let's say you're using the Garmin PS22 and it doesn't need a black box, well, you're gonna save a lot of weight and you don't have to put it on the back there. All right, so I talked about the bare bones shuttle. I showed you the shuttle with the graph and the black box on it, but this is the fully decked out deal. This is what I'm gonna be using this winter. This is the new bag they came out with. It was needed. So there's a couple sweet features about it. Probably the first thing you're gonna notice, I'll hop right to it, is these backpack straps on the back. I can't tell you how many times your hands are full or you're getting tired. There's no way to carry a lot of weight, and obviously these shuttles are heavy by the time you got a battery and a big screen and all that stuff. So there's no better way than to carry it on your back, and obviously you're not gonna bounce it around in a toboggan or on a snow machine then. So I'm not gonna carry it on my back all the time, but in certain situations, having the backpack straps are amazing. And then as well, if you don't want them there, let's say you're just hole hopping and carrying it spot to spot, you can actually pack it back in the mesh here. The other thing you'll notice on the bag is the pole holders actually come out of the bag. That's kind of what fits everything together. So you've got the pole holder on the top, you've got the strap, but it also just friction fits in, nice and solid. You can lock it back in, and if you're going on a big rip, then you can strap it on top as well, but that's another way to keep your whole pole locked in, a nice tight package there. You've also got these 2 holders on the side with Velcro. So let's say you're going in a tight location or portage through the backwoods and you want to keep your pole vertical. Well, then you can do that as well. You can put it vertical there. You could also put a rod in there if you wanted. You could use them as rod holders, but right there, then it's vertical out of the way as well if you need to have more of a slender profile for wherever you're going. So getting into some of the other features of the bag, you've got these big pouches on the side, and this is what you can use for your transducer. So the nice thing about this is you kind of set how much cord you want. In this case, I set about 6 feet of cord, and it lives on the side, and then there's a little grommet right there, and that's actually what you pass your cord through, and then you don't have cord getting in the way, unraveling. So this is what I have now. If I need to, I could go in there and adjust it, but right now I've got about 6 feet of cord, which works perfect. Then you've got the big zipper itself to get into the bag. It's Velcroed on the bottom. And another thing that Jason thought about is always being able to get at that battery. So right at the bottom now, you've got two smaller zippers, and that's what gives you access once again to the battery. So even when you have this whole bag decked out, transducer pass through the side, the pull on, you can still just do those two thumb screws. You can get at the battery. Other than that, this bag, it's nice and tight. It's got good padding on the lid, so I don't worry about using a screen protector anymore. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm gonna get the backpack rig set up. We're gonna go pop a couple holes, set some tip ups. I'll show you the pull setup. We'll talk about the actual graphs itself, the transducer, the battery, and maybe in all that, we'll catch a pike as well. All right, so the pole comes in 3 sizes. I'll have them on the screen above because I do not have them all memorized. I would say the middle pole, the 24 to 60, is probably the most popular, common, kind of do-it-all pole. I like the shorter pole for early ice. It's just a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter. The pole is carbon fiber, so you've got these latches here. That's how you extend it out. Easy to do with gloves, the big latches. And then you've got the tensioner here. That's how you can loosen the actual pole. Nice and smooth, so when you're searching for fish. And then the way I use this long handle here, whichever way the handle's pointed, like looking down that way, that's the way the transducer handle is gonna be pointed. You can adjust it however you want. And then this is the collar, you can slide up and down as well. But anyways, we're gonna put the transducer on here. As far as transducers go, I'm a LiveScope guy. Garmin LiveScope, I've done the side-by-side comparison. LiveScope is leading the way in front-facing sonar. The most recent, kind of do-it-all transducers, the LVS 34. LVS 32 is a good option as well. And then if you're a deep water, lake trout, saltwater sort of guy, then you've got the LVS 62 as well, which is the big boy transducer you might have seen me using in most videos. This is the same answer I give all the time is, any LiveScope imaging transducer you can get is gonna be better than none. If I had to pick one, it'd be the LVS 34, but get what you can afford, pick something up secondhand if you need. In this case, like I said, we got the LVS 34. It's the best all-around transducer that I've seen. And as well, there's this carrying cover for it. You can use it on your boat, use it when you're ice fishing, whatever, it slides off, and it just helps protect the elements. Because this piece right here, these elements on the bottom, that LVS 34 has these 3 little black strips, that is the part you need to protect, because you damage that, and that's how you're gonna have a bad LiveScope image. Get what you can afford. We actually got a flag right now. We set one up before, so we should probably go catch that pike, and then I'll keep talking about transducers. I think I'll hit him. We got a pike. It's small and skinny. He interrupted our transducer talk. Fish is sickly. All right, it's going back. So anyways, we're talking transducers. It can be overwhelming by all the options. We got another flag. Dang. It's trying to pull. I think it's decent size. Oh. Guess we'll stop her. Oh, that's a better fish. Not much better, but it's better. A little better. Twice the size. The next one's twice the size. We're gonna be laughing. Look at that jump. All right, pike number 2 during our little electronics chat. We were talking about transducers and the flags just keep flying. If you're on a budget, they've got the PS22, which is more so the first generation Panoptics. It's still amazing technology. So if you need to pick up something used or pick up something, a generation before, don't let that stop you, because any sort of technology that shows you, everything that live imaging does underwater, it's gonna teach you so much. It's gonna be more fun on the ice. You're gonna catch more fish. You're gonna learn more. I am such a proponent for this technology and I just love it. So anyways, the 34, we're gonna hook it up on the pole. I kind of like to keep the pole a little bit shorter if possible. I want that transducer just, right under the ice. Basically how this works is you've just got this little pin that slides into the transducer, and if you pick up one of these poles, it's got the mounting hardware for whatever brand you might have. So I'll put the pin through. So as well, when you get the pole, it does come with the clips. If you want to clip your transducer cord to your pole, I don't really bother with that, but it's just another step. And there you go. So it's got 3 different angles. Transducer is really easy to use. You can see these little notches in here, but you've got your notch for down view, a notch for forward view. I keep my transducer in forward view most of the time. And then as well, for some reason you want to do perspective mode. Cool thing about how this bracket works as well is you just pull it out and up, and just like that, you're into perspective mode. We got that cord. Like I said, you kind of set how much cord you have with your bag, and you leave it like that all the time. So we're gonna drop this down. We actually have a little more ice than I thought, so maybe I'm gonna drop this a touch deeper. And before I drop the transducer down, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loosen this handle, and I'm gonna line it up right now. So this is the first thing you wanna do, is you wanna line up your transducer and your handle. So I want this pole to be hanging the same direction as the transducer right now. I'm gonna make sure everything's straight, but you can see the cord's coming out there and it's in line just like this with the handle. So then I know, since this is looking forward when I have it down, that whichever way this is pointing, that's where I'm looking. So if I need to know where to drill a hole, or if I'm looking where the fish is coming from, we're gonna open it up and fire it up. Like I said, this top button here, this is gonna fire up the whole system. So I'm gonna turn it on. I'll see the voltage on that screen. It might be flickering on your screen because you've got, you know, some shutter issues going on with the camera. But like I said, this case just fits perfectly with the 10-inch screen. All right, well, I'm gonna get a tip-up bait down. We got a little chunk of sucker. All right, so while this bait is dropping down, we're gonna talk about graphs. So that's another big discussion. I'm gonna keep talking in the Garmin world because that's what I use, that's what I'm familiar with. You've got kind of two main options right now if you're gonna go for a live scope. You know, a lot of these units are compatible with the same transducers, but it's the head unit you need to decide beside. So you've got the EchoMap Ultra 2. There is also EchoMap Ultra as the first version. They're probably, you know, more so discounted or on clearance, but you've got the EchoMap Ultra 2. And then you've got the GPS map. A couple of the key differences you're gonna see is the GPS map, which is what I use. It is more expensive, but probably the biggest reason why I have it is it has an HDMI out port on the back. So I'm gonna hook up my screen recorder shortly, and it allows me to share my screen to record it. Same thing if you're in an ice castle or a snow bear and you wanna have your screen up on the TV, you need to have an HDMI out to do that. But something the EchoMap Ultra 2's recently added is it has screen sharing, so you can share it to your phone and then you could screen record from your phone. But for me, the two reasons why I'm using the GPS map is the biggest one being the screen recording, and then secondly, you will definitely notice an increased clarity. It is a little bit sharper, a little easier to see objects, make out what's going on. Once again, that being said, the EchoMap Ultra is gonna be good for 95% of people. It's just those situations where, let's say you wanna put your live scope screen on a big flat screen TV in your ice castle, well then you probably wanna get the GPS map, but you are gonna be spending some more money. So anyways, I've got both, I've used both. If it wasn't for the screen recording, then the EchoMap would be good for most situations right now. But I do love my GPS maps. I mean, as far as size goes, you know, you are gonna notice if you go to a bigger screen size, you're gonna use significantly more battery. So, you know, for myself, 10-inch screen is great because 10-inch is kind of a great crossover for using, you know, open water and ice fishing. A 12-inch screen might be a little bit nicer on the boat, but when it comes to the ice, a 12-inch screen is just, it's kind of a pig. So I think 10-inch screen is kind of the best of both worlds. If you go to a smaller screen on the ice, it's gonna be lighter, better for mobility, it's gonna use less battery. Once again, you'll save some money getting a smaller screen. It really just depends on what your budget is and what all your needs are. All right, we're fourth and final hole. I would say the biggest part, oh, we got a flag. Sounds like it's moving. Oh yeah, she's burning. It is small. What do we got? Maybe a walleye? Nope. Always make sure you got some long pliers with you. Fishing. All right, well, we were about to talk about batteries. Obviously, a pretty big part of the Shuttle is what you're powering everything with, because if you got a dead battery, it's not very good. Live scopes, front-facing sonar, they use a lot of juice. So lithium's kind of the deal right now. Lithium batteries, I'm sure you've heard lots about it. It is a little more investment up front, but the warranties are amazing. It allows you to run, you know, your live scope for a day, multiple days. I'm gonna show you the battery I've used. I started using it during the outpost in the Shuttle, the 50 amp hour Norsk, and this thing is an absolute beast. So there's kind of two main options in my mind in the 14.8 volt lineup, the 50 or the 30 amp hour. 50 amp hour, it's a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, a little more expensive, but this thing, if you're like me and you sometimes do ice camping, you do multi-day trips, maybe you forget to charge, this is the battery you want. We were filming season 1 of the Outpost up in northern Manitoba, 11.5-hour competition day. I forgot to charge it overnight and we still were able to run the entire second day with a screen recorder. So we got basically 22, 23 hours of use on a 10-inch screen with this one battery without charging it, which is unbelievable. Before, you know, I was using smaller batteries, but I'd be lucky to get like one full day. Now I'm getting 2 days out of this. And there's a couple other cool functions. This is actually the newer version. I have one of the older 50 amp hours in the Shuttle. This one is something called the Guardian app. I connect it to my phone via Bluetooth. I can check the status of the battery and it'll give me an estimated runtime as well. So while I'm using it, it'll say there's approximately this many hours left as well. Let's say I forget to charge it at night. The Shuttle's sitting, you know, in the next room over beside my bed. I can hop on the app, I can see what the charge is and if I think I'm gonna have enough for the next day as well. It's got USBs on the front. Depending on how you want to rig it, you could rig a cord where it comes out of the Shuttle as well if you need a third USB cord. But anyways, amazing. I'll link this below. 14.8 volt is also a higher voltage. A lot of people are used to running the standard 12 volt, but 14.8, that higher voltage is amazing for live scope. I'm not positive that it runs cleaner, but it definitely, you know, allows you to run that higher capacity, which gives you the longer run times, which is, there's nothing worse then getting into prime time, getting into sunset, and your live scope battery dies. So anyways, this is what I use. These guys support the channel. I will link them below, and I've been just incredibly impressed with this battery, and it does fit perfectly in the Shuttle. But once again, you can talk to Jason, message HE Innovations. They will tell you what batteries are all compatible and what will fit. So in this other pouch, I got the screen recorder, and this is actually a bit of a different screen recorder than you've probably seen me use or talk about in past videos. This is a different one. I did a lot of searching online for screen recorders, and there are not that many that work with HDMI out. So this is what I use for Aquaview, and this is what I use for the back of my Garmin GPS map to allow me to screen record so you guys can see the strikes and all that. The main difference is it's USB-C, and it uses a full-size SD card, two things which are nice, and then you've got the HDMI in there. So basically what I like to do is I will tape these two cords onto the unit, and then I never have to worry about forgetting the cords, because I will tell you, if you get one of these screen recorders, you start bringing it along, you'll forget the HDMI or you'll forget the power cord, and it will suck. We'll hook it up. I'm gonna show you some of my screen settings, and then lastly, I'm gonna show you this cool little Aquaview setup I got. But we got a flag. Yeah, it's there. We got a jackfish. Whoa! And it's off, and it's gone. I'm gonna plug the recorder right into the front, and then we've got the HDMI on the back here. So now you can see this recorder's turned green. You press the button, it'll start flashing green, and now I'm screen recording. So that's the cool thing. Now you can see what I'm seeing. As far as live scope settings go, I really like the blue color palette. It looks kind of like first generation Panoptix, but I feel like it gives you the most contrast, and you can see what's going on. That's what I'm using right now. Another thing too, so if you take those grids off the background, let's go setting. If you go layout and you turn the grid overlay off, it's a little bit cleaner too. If you are gonna use that for, let's say, a YouTube video and you wanna knock out that blue background, taking out the grid will be nice as well. But right now you can see scanning around some weeds. You can see some bait down there. And right at that 2 foot mark, you can see my tip up bait. I'll lift it up so you can see. There you can see, maybe I'll raise it a little bit higher even, but no, that seems pretty good. 2 feet off bottom and about 10 feet of water. As far as settings on the side go, TVG, typically keep off. TVG is kind of like time varied gain. The noise reject, often medium or high. It just cleans up your image a bit. Then you can play with gain. My gain is often between 60 and 70. I think, you know, you watch a lot of the pros, a lot of the bass guys, they'll actually get critiqued on how high their gain is, but the reason they're cranking their gain so high is so they can see as much as possible. So the thing is, if you want a cleaner image, you turn your gain down, but sometimes you miss those little details far away. So if you crank your gain, you're gonna see more, but it's not gonna be as pretty of an image. All right, we talked about the Shuttle, the screen, the battery, the pole, the bag, all that stuff. That's what I'm gonna be using all winter, but one other piece of gear that I'll be playing with, which you don't always think about hooking up to your graph, but it is an underwater camera. This is a new one from Aquaview. It's called the Micro Revolution HD. And basically it's a camera, it's your spool of camera cable, but there's no screen. So this has an HDMI out. Once again, I'm gonna use the Norsk and I'm gonna use the Garmin that I already have along, and I'm gonna hook it up into my existing system. Because in a situation like this, you know, live scope doesn't help that much when you're waiting for a tip up to fly, but it is pretty sweet to get the underwater strike. So for the last hour of the day, we're gonna hook this up. You can even do split screen between the live scope and the underwater camera. Maybe we'll try that, and we'll see if a pike swims by our bait. But pretty cool little piece of tech, and like I said, it fits right on the side of the bag here, and you can tuck it in and you got an underwater camera along with you. So same deal, I'm gonna put an HDMI in the back. The other one's the HDMI out. This is in the HDMI in, because it's gonna send the camera screen in, and then we're gonna power it off the front. A lot of tech hooked up to this Shuttle, but that's another reason why you might want a big capacity battery. We got the Aquaview hooked up. Check this out. So now I can go into the settings, vessel, video, boom. Now we're using our live scope and we're getting Aquaview footage. How sweet is that? You know, rather than, you know, you can bring another camera along if you're doing dedicated. A lot of the time I bring the big, you know, HD7i Pros with the lithium inside, the whole deal. And that's great when I'm filming all day, but let's say I see some fish, I wanna know what they are, I see some object underwater, then you got this. So same deal, you could put this in the side pouch or whatever. I'm gonna drop it down right now and we'll just see what's underneath here, see if there's any pike cruising around. There's my bait. Wow, this is so sweet. There is my, yeah, there's a brick, my tip up bait. I can do a little spin, a little bit of wood, and a perfect piece of Cisco. So check this out. This is where it gets pretty cool. So I've got my bait, I've got the screen recorder recording everything. Now if I go back into my menu, I'm gonna go combo screen. I'm gonna try to create a combo, see what I can do here. We're gonna add Sonar, we're gonna add live scope, and on the other side, we're gonna add video, HDMI main helm. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Now I've got everything I could ever want. I've got live scope and I've got underwater footage. Oh, that's sweet. All in one place, all running off one battery. We're just gonna let it roll. Maybe a fish will come by today, maybe not. All right, well, it's a lot of talking, a lot of tech, but thanks for watching till the end. That's my gear. I am very pumped with all this technology. It just keeps getting better, keeps making ice fishing more enjoyable, and helps me catch a couple more fish. So anyways, we're gonna go check for flags.